You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and today it's Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Thank you for joining us on CorsiNation.com. And you can follow us on X at Corsi Jerome 1, the number 1. And you can follow us on Substack at JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. It's the first day back after the Labor Day weekend. So that kind of officially marks the end of summer and beginning of fall. And people are back at work today, and there's a lot of news going on. It's quiet today, coming out of the holiday, but I suspect we'll see quite a bit of activity as Congress gets back to work. Summer vacation's over, and we're now getting into the September, which will be the end of the third quarter. October, November, December, the end of the year is just around the corner. And so we're into a new phase here, and a new, exciting, I think, time of the year for Donald Trump, as he's into the completion of his first year in office in his second term. Now, I'm going to cover several things today, but one of the things I want to make sure we didn't miss was that on July 18th, there was this special press release from Tulsi Gabbard on the 2026 election and the Obama administration conspiracy. I'll cover this in my book, Coup d'etat, and Chris will show you the cover of my book in a minute. But what this report demonstrated was that, that the 2026 election was really stolen from Donald Trump. And President Obama and his national security cabinet members manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a year-long coup against President Trump. Now, I wrote that in the book, Coup d'etat, and I've been Trump from office. So in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community assessed that Russia is probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means. Russia actually expected Hillary Clinton to win and was in favor of that because Russia had plenty of intelligence against Hillary Clinton that they were going to drop after she was elected president in order to compromise her, including that she was suffering from a neurological disease that was causing her to have epileptic-like, fits, blackouts. She was taking a lot of painkiller tranquilizers, and she was drinking heavily. And so therefore, she was really pretty much out of the bag and in the bag and out of functioning. But what happened was, after the election, December 7th, the talking points were prepared for Clapper, saying foreign adversaries did not use talking points on the election infrastructure to alter the U.S. election outcome. But then on December 9th, Obama's White House gathered the national security principals for a meeting, included Clapper, James Clapper, it was the director of national intelligence, John Brennan, head of the CIA, Susan Rice, who was an advisor to Obama in the White House, John Kerry is one of my least favorite. I wrote about, the Unfit for Command in 2004, the Swiftboat book I co-authored with John O'Neill. John Kerry was Secretary of State under Obama. Loretta Lynch, Attorney General. Andrew McCabe, prominent in the FBI, and others, to discuss Russia. And after the meeting, that Clapper's executive assistant sent an email to the intelligence community leaders, tasking them with creating a new internet intelligence community assessment, pair the president's request under Obama's instructions. Saying that detailing the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. But I want to say the Office of the Department of the Director of National Security, Clapper, will lead this effort with participation from CIA, Brennan, FBI, McCabe, NSA, National Security Agency, with that was Admiral Rogers, and Department of Homeland Security. So other Obama officials leaked false statements to media outlets, including the Washington Post, claiming that Russia has attempted, quote, through cyber means to influence if not actively influence, the outcome of election. And then on January 6, 2017, a new intelligence community assessment was released that directly contradicted the intelligence community assessments that were made throughout the previous 6 months. And that led to that was based on the Steele dossier, which was manufactured, deemed not to be credible. But yet that was the evidence used by Obama to say that this is, the investigation that led to the Mueller investigation, the years-long Mueller investigations, 2 congressional impeachments, high-level officials being investigated, arrested, and thrown in jail, and heightened U.S.-Russia tensions and more. Okay, and this comes directly from Gabbard, releasing this special release, which makes it really critically imperative that the Department of Justice is now investigating a coup d'état. And while it's being quiet, while the investigation is getting going, I'm confident that there's going to be indictments. I don't think they can have this much publicity. And Tulsi Gabbard, by the way, I think is doing the best right now publicly of all the Obama appointments in justice. Tom Homan is leading at DHS, and we're seeing actions going around the country that Donald Trump is taking firm control of the country. Now, it's a district judge again. These district judges are a problem because a district judge ruled that you cannot have, the tariffs may be illegal. Well, that's insanity. The Supreme Court, I'm sure, is going to overturn that. And the White House is very convinced the Supreme Court will. But it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. And then Donald Trump has taken over control of Washington, D.C. with the National Guard, and the troops are ready to come in if they need to be. Donald Trump can always invoke the Insurrection Act to get civil violence under control. And the city of Chicago is going completely nuts because Obama may send the National Guard into Chicago. So we have a clip here from the mayor of Chicago, who, of course, is talking about democracy. Oh, democracy. The left loves to talk about democracy when they want to have chaos in the streets, support criminals, release mother rapers, father rapers, child rapers from prison. This Judge Boser, to the bozo who was the one prosecuting Trump on the Smokey Daniels trial, convicting him. The case that needs to be overturned. And so basically, he released the woman who was threatening to assassinate Trump. He just released her. So these judges releasing criminals, the Democratic Party supporting terrorists from Venezuela and terrorists from, El Salvador, the Maras, the gang members who are out killing and raping and destroying. Democrats support everything anti-American. Democratic Party is now a party that is now not only a communist party, it has become a party of hate America, and it's a treasonous party. And I'll talk in a minute about ActBlue, but let's listen to what this mayor in Chicago says. Go ahead, Chris. Let's play it.
Troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago. No.
Yeah, well, that's great, Then meanwhile, they have 37 deaths over the holiday weekend, and there's chaos in the streets, roving mobs in downtown. And this guy can't do anything except talk about democracy in Chicago. Well, if the Democratic Party continues this way, there won't be a Democratic Party. And that's imminent. That's around the corner. Okay, and so if you take a look at gods5stones.com, and we are raising additional funds, we are into another round of raising money. And gods5stones.com is covering ActBlue. Now, ActBlue, and I've done a number of things to get the word out on ActBlue. I started to publish about how, in fact, if we look at God's Five Stones, you'll see the ActBlue investigation. There's political corruption. The Obama coup d'etat we're covering on God's Five Stones. We're covering that in detail. The child and sex exploitation. All these are subjects that we're going into in great detail on God's Five Stones and the spiritual warfare, including, the book we wrote, Stolen Elections, a book we published on Silicon Satan by Craig Lund, a novel which shows the corruption, the Satanism in Silicon Valley. These are issues which need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed quickly and firmly. The ActBlue investigation was Obama opening up Honduras, an agreement made by President Trump and Vice President Obama with the president of Honduras, who was named Hernandez, who was a member of the Sinaloa drug cartel. And what they did is they opened up the border so we could have these thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of children, unaccompanied minors, coming across the border to be captured into sex trade and organ harvesting. Additionally, the Sinaloa drug cartel was given a open border opportunity to import its cocaine, and Communist China its fentanyl. The Democratic Party put that money, collected money on it. CIA was deeply involved. The banks were involved. They put the money in the banks. They got the money out by ActBlue with mortgage fraud. So at ActBlue, you had people who were, number one, they were taking millions of dollars into the banks, and they were getting them out through the head of ActBlue would get a mortgage, and what she would do is she would get her mortgage out and get maybe buy $1 million property in Palo Alto, California, and then get $50 million in loans on that property. Well, the loans were not really mortgage loans. They were booked as mortgage loans to get them out of the bank computer, but then they disappear. Money's gone. It was never allocated to a mortgage within the bank. It was illegal money that was separately segregated, and that was just allocated out as a mortgage loan. And it appears in LexisNexis, which records these kinds of transactions, but it doesn't appear in the deed of the house. So it's money laundering. The American people realized that the Democratic Party was supporting itself by child sex trade, with making the CIA the biggest sex trade and organ harvesting organization in the world. I think the American people are going to be appalled. And that's the awareness we want to bring forward. God's Five Stones is going to take the lead on this, and we're going to be making sure that the world understands the criminal nature of the Democratic Party, which is anti-America. These people are traitors. We had Comey, Clapper, Brennan. They hated the United States. They were going along with Obama to destroy the United States. Well, that's going to end, and these people are going to go to prison. Okay, now a couple of other stories I want to highlight today is that there appears to be a new weapon system that was tested over the weekend. It's an electromagnetic weapon that destroys these swarms of drones in seconds. Okay, so all these drone attacks have been the rage among military leaders and Silicon Valley investors. And the weaponry could threaten to change the battlefield. But defense contractor Epirus, EPIRUS, tested its electromagnetic weapon Leonidas, 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 against a swarm of 48 quadcopters, drones, neutralizing them in seconds in Camp Atterbury, Indiana, according to Axios, the only news outlet invited to this groundbreaking test. But numerous U.S. military services and foreign allies, including Indo-Pacific partners, witnessed the event. In an interview with Axios, Epirus CEO Andy Lowery hailed the force field system as a singularity event, an event that it changes the nature of warfare.
The U.S. Army just picked up two.
Okay, and so therefore, this test by Epirus comes as the U.S. military is aggressively advancing its drone capabilities. Okay, but the point is that with all of this, despite Hegseth's determination to acquire various drones, military drones, to test them and to develop a drone military. We're threatening to go into a whole new range of energy weapons, which will change the nature of warfare dramatically. We're quickly reaching the point where the battlefield is an electronic battlefield, and it's fought without the intervention of human beings. Now, when that happens, we're into a new phase where nuclear war becomes again imminently possible. And we are going to have to make sure that we end wars. We can't have wars in the future. We're going to have to go into what President Trump's idea is, that is peace through prosperity. Okay, now, over the holiday weekend, it appeared to slow. Of course, everything slowed during the holiday weekend. And Trump is now saying that the tri-party meeting between Putin and Zelensky and himself will occur. But he's saying don't expect there to be peace in Ukraine right away. It's in the works, but it's not instant. And the EU is still talking about sending troops into Ukraine and winning the war. The EU is completely worthless anymore. It's a defunct organization that really has no reason to be. Okay, now I think what we're facing here is that Trump is going to get a solution to Ukraine. It's in the works. It's going to take a little bit of time more to develop, but I see it happening. Also, by the way, in Israel, a lot of reservists were called up. Israel is going to another strike within the Gaza. I believe Trump and Netanyahu decided to destroy Hamas within the Gaza, which will be a game-changing event, to declare that the Palestinians are not a state. Palestinians are fiction. The Palestinians was a term that the British protectorate used to define everybody living in that territory. Jews, as well as Muslims and Christians, were all Palestinians if they lived in the territory that the British protectorate used to like to call, Palestine. Not Israel, but Palestine. Well, that fiction's coming to an end. A two-state solution, the Oslo Accords, is coming to an end, and we've now bombed Iran, and the mullahs know that their hold on the power is tenuous at best. And sanctions will be applied, and I think we can see a change in government in Iran, which will occur, I think, fairly quickly, meaning sometime probably in 2026. All right, now the police have identified a driver who seriously injured Mayor Giuliani in a major car accident, probably nearly killed him. And he survived, 81-year-old. And he was severely injured in a car accident in New Hampshire after assisting a domestic violence victim. Rudy suffered a broken thoracic vertebrae, lacerations, and contusions. Thomas Goodman of Michigan was driving a Ford Bronco with Giuliani as the passenger. He's also injured in the accident. New Hampshire police have identified this 19-year-old Lauren Kemp of Concord as the person responsible for hitting Giuliani in the crash. She was driving a Honda HR-V when she slammed into the vehicle carrying Giuliani. There's no indication there's been a targeted attack, and no charges have been filed. But prior to the incident, Giuliani was flagged down by a woman who was the victim of a domestic violence incident. Giuliani immediately rendered assistance and contacted 911. He remained on the scene until responding officers arrived to ensure her safety. Got back in his vehicle. Following this, while traveling on the highway, Giuliani's vehicle was struck from behind at high speed. He was transported to a nearby trauma center where he was diagnosed with a fractured thoracic vertebrae, multiple lacerations and contusions, as well as injuries to his left arm and lower leg. President Trump has decided to award Giuliani the award of American Valor. What is the nature of the award? It's going to be. It was announced yesterday that the White House is going to give him the. I think it's one of the top awards you can give a civilian, which is Chris. You may know what the award is. If you do, come on Oh yeah, the Presidential
Medal of Freedom. Yeah.
Presidential Medal of Freedom. So what do you think about that accident? What do you think happened?
I mean, it sounds like it's an accident. It sounds like it's a freak accident. It'd be very difficult for. Look, there are people who just shouldn't be driving.
Yeah, that's right.
That's another thing. This is an inexperienced driver, apparently, and I hate to say these things happen, but the man was doing something good for a fellow citizen, and then this happens. The timing is just it's strange. It's bad, but I mean, the old "no good deed goes unpunished" thing just kind of rings through. But I do think I mean, look, what this man did for New York City over the years should have deserved him this medal years ago. So
I agree. And what he did also with Donald Trump during the Russian collusion hoax deserved a medal too.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
yeah.
By the way, the hospitals in France are preparing for imminent war in Europe. I mean, France is delusional. There's not going to be imminent war in Europe because Russia's not going to start it. And Macron, who would love to have war, because if he just get the French people whipped up about war and get arms manufacturing going, he might have an economy. But again, this is old. This type of thinking is the French people don't want to go to war. The French army would be better running a transgender parade down the Champs-Élysées than they would be fighting a war in Ukraine.
Oh, their best move has always been this.
Yeah, I mean, they always French are always great talking about war, but they can't fight one. It's a joke.
Okay, this is a different country than it was 70 years ago too, in a lot of ways. I mean, at least there was a resistance during World War II and after the occupation. But nowadays, these people are afraid of their own Muslim population.
Well,
that they brought in.
They should be, because that Muslim population is not going to assimilate, and the French, military and French police and judicial systems are going to do nothing about Muslim rape squads. They're going to ignore they exist, and they'll let them have. This region is now under Sharia law. You can't go into these communities.
Oh, I know you were off last week, but I'm sure you've seen that video. And again, a lot of Europe and even America is trying to destroy itself when the American left and the European left are trying to destroy their own countries. What's the end game? I don't know, but you saw what happened in Scotland last week, or the video from Scotland a couple weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a little girl, a 14-year-old girl, brandished a weapon to keep her 12-year-old sister from being predated by a migrant from North Africa. She gets arrested.
Right.
And the news media even just reports over there in Dundee, Scotland, and around Scotland and Britain, most of them reported only that she got arrested for brandishing a weapon, not for what caused the whole thing.
Right. Well, and it's ridiculous that it's the defenders of freedom, the people who are doing the right thing, are the ones who are being attacked, imprisoned, to allow the Muslim criminals free reign. All right. Also, you see in Germany, this Alternative for Germany candidates, AfD, 4 candidates died suddenly, unexpectedly before key state election.
Yeah, it sounds like the Philippine elections against Ferdinand Marcos back in the day.
Yes. I mean, stab your opponents.
At one point, you have to ask yourself, this is what they want. Why is this what they want? Why do they want to overrun their own countries and destroy them from within to the point where even they're going to be losing power afterwards?
Well, they're insane.
Perfect example. The whiny mayor of Minneapolis, Gray, right? Mayor Gray. He's whining. He kissed the coffin of George Floyd. He winds his way through everything. He outwokes the captain of the woke army, the chief battalion leader of the woke army, if you will. And still the thanks he gets is being primaried by a Muslim candidate.
Well, I'll tell you, these are the things that are going to have to be reported and realized. And I think we'll start doing more reporting on it. By the way, gold and silver. Gold is still today at $3,392 an ounce. Silver at 38. Oh no, excuse me. I just look at gold at $3,000, almost $500 an ounce, and silver's at $40 an ounce today, which I think indicates again that we're going to have gold potentially at $4,000 an ounce before the end of the year, and silver could be hitting close to $45 an ounce. So I'm imploring people to take a look at the Swiss America material that we have on our website. You can, for the first time callers, you can get up to 250 of these Walking Liberty half dollars. I'm going to give you the 800 number in a minute, where you can get the free book that we've written, how the coming global crash is going to create an historic gold rush. It's happening. Okay, so when you take a look at Swiss America, Chris is showing you on the screen right now, get up the Swiss America site, where you go to the top, you see our gold, click it, see Swiss America, there's right down there's the Walking Liberty half dollar offer, and get 250 of those coins, first time, one-time offer for new customers, and it's a lost leader for Swiss America. Just fill out the form and start talking to Swiss America. You get 250 of these coins, about the price that they're worth in silver, and you'll begin to have something that can appreciate in value. And silver is a lot more affordable than gold. It's $3,500 an ounce. Of course, I was talking about buying gold was at $1,800 an ounce. If you'd followed my advice, then you'd have nearly doubled your money in a very short period of time. Also, Chris, put the 800 number. You can call 1-800-519-6268. 1-800-519-6268. Get your free copy of how the coming global crash will create an historic gold rush. Finally, on Zero Hedge today, they're reporting that we're about to see a declaration of a housing crisis in America. And this is from Scott Bessent, who, Treasury Secretary, told the Examiner on Labor Day the Trump administration may declare a housing emergency in the coming months to address the affordability crisis. And they're looking for another cut in interest rates to make housing more affordable. Also, it goes back to Obama, when Obama decided that we don't need any more single-family housing anymore. We can move everybody to 15-minute cities, and they're building all these townhouses across the country, moving people into townhouses that are very expensive. Can't have a single-family home anymore, but you can have a townhouse. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. We're back. We're beginning the fall. It's September 2nd, 2025. In the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. We do have a lot to clean up in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14. I urge everybody to get on their knees and to pray to God, to repent. We're repenting and asking God to forgive us for letting the country get to the shape it's in. So many babies killed in the womb since Roe v. Wade, God taken out of the schools, going back to the 1940s Supreme Court decisions. We need to turn the country back to God and back to fundamental values. And please follow us at gods5stones.com. We'll be back every weekday, and back tomorrow and every weekday at CorsiNation.com with podcasts updating you on the news. Dr. Jerome Corsi, thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you with us again tomorrow. God bless.